Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Rainbow Ange. Here on the channel, you'll find me chatting away about my adventures in knitting and crochet and spinning for the most part. Very big thank you for joining me again this week. If you watched my video last week, you will remember that I am not recording a usual format for my videos this week. We're actually going to be going away with some friends at the weekend, so I don't have my usual time for recording a proper sit-down video. So instead, I'm going to take you with me through my week, record little snippets of video every day, and hopefully splice them all together and upload them at some point at the end of the week. So it's Monday this morning and the sun is shining. It looks like it's going to be a lovely day here in South Wales today. I'm working this morning, but then I have the afternoon off, which is really nice. So I've got a group in the shop this morning, so I'm just getting ready for that. I need to head on up into town to buy lots of cakes to keep all of my groups happy this week. And yeah, get to the shop and tidy up and get ready for that group this morning. This afternoon, if it stays lovely, I am planning on grabbing some lunch and heading down to the beach for maybe half an hour or an hour. I've got a couple of projects with me that I might be able to work on while I'm down there, but I think it'd be nice just to get out and enjoy the sunshine while it's here. So yeah, that's the plans for the day, and hopefully I shall be back at some point to record a few things along the way. It's 1 PM, I've got about half an hour before I cash up and lock up the shop. I thought my group has now finished, I have got a sink full of washing up to do, so I'm trying to avoid doing that. I need to do it at some point. I'm trying to put that off as long as possible, so I thought I'd pop on and have a quick chat to you lovely people out there before I get on and do that. So I thought I'd show you what I've been working on this morning in the shop while I had the group. First thing, I finished off a project for one of my lovely customers. I often get asked to help out with finishing or to fix mistakes, and I have one lovely lady who enjoys knitting but won't have a truck with the sewing up, so I often get her garments to sew up, usually just baby things. So I finished this one off for her today. It's a lovely hooded top for a toddler. So I think this is the 3 to 4 year old size that she knitted. So she came in last week with all of the pieces, so the back and the front and the sleeves all knit up, and she wanted me to join it together and add the hood, which I have done. So it's a bit awkward to show. Try and stand back a little bit. So that's the sweater in its entirety with the hood that I've added on. It's a lovely bright fun yarn. This is actually the Stylecraft Colourpool yarn, which they released last year. It's been designed for crochet in particular, and if you crochet it at the right tension, you get sort of a argyle type effect as shown on here, but when you knit it you just get a variegated yarn. So there's some lovely really fun bright colours in this one. This is colourway 3911, which is called Indian Summer. So that was my first task of the day, was to get that finished. And once I had finished that up, I had the ribbing around the hood to do, and then the sewing up of the sides and the sleeves. So I got all that finished, and then I moved on to the sock that I'm knitting, again for another one of my lovely customers. I'm knitting this pair of socks with some gorgeous yarn from by Miranda May, who is a local indie dyer. She's based out of Cardiff here. I've spoken about her before. I've knit quite a few projects with her lovely yarn. One of my customers picked out her Purple Moon colourway for a pair of socks. So I have one sock finished, with the heel in the back there, and isn't that glorious? There's lots of gorgeous purples and blues in this yarn, and it's knitting up really lovely. nice, just variegated pattern to that. And I am onto the second sock now, so I'm about halfway down the leg. It's a 72 stitch sock, 2.25mm needles, knitting these on Zings. So yeah, I just needed to knit round and round and get the second one done. I'm hoping to have this finished by the end of the week. This will be my main project for when I have groups in the shop this week. So I put a few rows on that this morning, but the main focus of my work this morning was to finish that toddler hoodie. So yeah, no avoiding it now. I've got to go and do this pesky washing up, and then I can catch up and lock up and hopefully enjoy some of the beautiful sunshine that we have here in South Wales today. Hey lovely friends, welcome to my Tuesday. I hope you don't find that strange patch of light behind me too distracting. I'm sat up in my craft room and the sun is shining, so it's just streaking through the window in that odd kind of pattern. Oh, hello Newty, you coming to say hello? I'm sure you can hear her. I don't imagine she will enjoy being grabbed. Here she is. Say hello. Say hello Newty. Just saying, cat distraction. Oh, I didn't get round to recording much more footage yesterday afternoon. I ate my lunch at the beach in the sunshine, which was lovely. There's still a chill to the air, so it wasn't entirely warm. I did have my coat off, but I definitely felt the chill. I didn't spend as long at the beach as I thought I might. It's the half-term school holidays here in Wales, and because it was such a lovely day, the beach was fantastically busy, which is lovely to see. But I'm a bit of a selfish beach goer, and I like my beach time to be quiet time, and there were lots of kids running around having fun, which, as I say, is lovely to see, but it just put me off of sitting there with my knitting for as long as I was planning, which is fine. I don't begrudge other people enjoying the beach at all. So yeah, I just came home and poodled around and got some jobs done at home instead. I also have, unexpectedly, a finished object to show you. On Sunday, which is my day for kind of swapping over my projects, I was rooting through my project bags because this is a week where I get to work on anything that I fancy. And I really wanted to work on a cowl that I started as part of my 12 cast-ons of Christmas. And the pattern that I picked up was the Paris in Berlin. I think it's in Berlin. It's either Paris in Berlin or Paris to Berlin cowl by Joji Locatelli. And I'd seen Grace of Babbles Travelling Yarns knit this in her Vlogmas videos, and it seemed like a great way to use up a beautiful skein of yarn. My lovely friend Erin, who is Dufferin24, she lives over in Canada, she sent me a beautiful skein of yarn for Christmas. And she sent me a skein from the Lismore Sheep Farm. And this is sock yarn 2909, it says on the back of the label, 80% merino, 20% nylon, 115 grams in the skein, 345 meters. So this is more on the sort of sport weight side, I would say. So I decided to use it to knit up a Paris to Berlin cowl, and I got this finished yesterday. So here it is. It's not been blocked yet and all the ends are hanging out, but here is my finished cowl, and I just love it. I love these colours. There's beautiful golds, and then there's sort of speckles of these foresty greens. Yeah, it's just, yeah, beautiful. So let me try and hold that back. I did have to make a couple of modifications to the pattern to accommodate for my yarn. The pattern requirements called for more yarn than I had. But it was easy to make the modifications once I got going. So what I did in the end is I took out a pattern repeat of this texture pattern down the bottom, which was really fun to knit. I really enjoyed knitting this section. And also I ended up having to pretty much half the garter stitch border. Now, I'm not sure if this edging is going to actually cause a bit of a problem, as it is now smaller than it should be. At the moment, it's rolling in on itself. If I just hold that up and let it hang freely, this garter is flipping over. I'm not sure if that's just because I haven't blocked it yet, and if that issue will resolve in blocking, or if it really does need that thicker edge to stop that happening. So if it does, then I will rip out my cast off and I will just join in some contrasting yarn. I've got a couple of options. I've got some lovely leftover yarn. It is a bit finer. I wonder if I've got it to hand. Hang on a second. So I've got this leftover from, this is a yarn from By Miranda May, who I was talking about yesterday. I knit myself a pair of socks. This is her pumpkin pie colourway, but it's slightly more on the orange side, but it's not too far off this, and it is finer than the Lismore sheep. But I reckon just for adding in a few rows to build up that edging if I need to, this will be perfect. So this is kind of plan B if once I have blocked this, that sort of rolling situation doesn't improve. I'll pop it on. So basically it's a lovely cowl. Let me try and pick the camera up and sort of show you. So you slip that on over your head, and then you can sort of spread this front bit out as it's sort of like a bandana style cowl. And I love it. I really love it. As I say, it was just such a fun knit. So let me try and balance you. If you watched my 12 cast-ons of Christmas video, you will have seen that I knit this first section. So this first texture section here, before you get to this patterning, is knit flat, and then you join to knit in the round, and then you knit down from where that second texture is. I think if I was to knit this again with this same yarn, I would probably, rather than lose a portion of this lovely texture pattern, I would probably cut back a few rows on this top section, make the top section a bit shorter just to make my yarn go further. But obviously I'm not going to rip that all out and start again. I literally used every piece of yarn that I had. The only yarn remaining, this is like the only little bit that I had left over from the cast off, and then obviously I've got another end hanging out from the cast on. So that is literally the only pieces of yarn that I have left, which is less than a metre probably of yarn altogether. But yeah, I'm really excited. We're going away with our friends, I think I mentioned already, this weekend. So I think this will be a really nice piece to have to take with me to ward off any chills. It's really easy to wear because you just slip it on over and it just hangs out. Shawls quite often sort of work around and fall off, but I think this will be really lovely just to tuck under a coat to keep you warm if you need that extra warmth. So yeah, I am looking forward to getting this blocked now to see if that solves the issue of this rolling edge. I'm hoping that it will, but if not, as I say, I think it will be a fairly easy fix. I also worked a little bit on my spindle spinning yesterday, so I'm working on this lovely green fibre, which was in the merino package from Barn to Yarn. Yeah, Barn to Yarn. I've still got this much left. My singles on this one are not amazingly consistent. Don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but I've got some quite thick spots and then some finer spots. I think I've just been a bit lazy in my sort of pre-preparation. So some bits I've ripped off from the hank, other times I've picked up and just started spinning from the hank, and I think that has really sort of affected the consistency of my yarn. So I need to slow down a bit and be a bit more consistent. I've said in the past, hand spun yarn is a beautiful thing, and once you start working with it, those little imperfections actually make for some charming detail. The yarn for this pink hat, for instance, is very thick and thin, but I think it adds to the charm of the project. And again, on this one, there are some sort of thicker slubs in there, and I just think it looks lovely, no matter what sort of yarn that you start with. I think when you work it up, it yeah, it just has a real charm of its own. Today in the shop, what's going on? It's Tuesday. Nothing is the short answer. I don't know why it took me so long to come up with that. No groups in the shop today. I do sometimes have a friend of mine who comes and sits with me in the shop on Tuesday afternoon, and it's the lady who asked me to finish off that hoodie that I was working on yesterday. So I may have some company this afternoon, but I'm hoping this morning that I'll get a chance to record that shop tour for you. So today's segment might be quite a long one, but yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up here for this morning, and I will be back shortly with whatever follows next. So I'm in the shop and I thought I would give you a quick tour. I promised this to Beverly, who is Gary's only gal, who left a comment a couple of weeks ago, and I just haven't got round to doing it. So yeah, I thought I've got 10 minutes before the shop opens officially, so I thought I'd quickly squeeze in a really quick whistle stop tour of the shop. So I am standing by the front door, so you can see behind me the entirety of the shop. So where that counter is, after you go past there, there's the office and the loo and the kitchen out there. So really I have got a very small, teeny weeny tiny shop. So I'm going to flip the camera around and yeah, just guide you around. In the same position as before by the front door. As you can see, the shop is mostly dominated by this huge table that we have, but I need a table that big because when I have my groups in the shop, the table for most of the groups is full. So we need plenty of space for people to spread out their projects, and also for tea and snacks, of course. So as you come in, I've got all of my buttons and bits and pieces on display just inside the front door. At the moment there's a couple of mannequins down below that displaying some sample garments that some of the yarn suppliers have given me. As we move round, I've got some samples of some socks that I've made, and I just use this area to display bits and pieces. I've got a couple of embroidery kits up there at the moment. I thought I would try some of those. And also I have one of the Bahramu bags hanging up there. In the set of cubbies down this side of the shop, I mostly keep my Rowan yarns. It's not as tidy as I would usually like it at the moment. I usually come in and tidy the shop first thing, but I'm trying to squeeze this video in before I do that. So you'll just have to take us as we are. Unlike a lot of shops, I tend to display just one ball of every colour that I have. So this is the Rowan felted tweed. I've actually got 2 cubbies worth of that. When I go to other yarn shops, I often see rows and rows of yarn, obviously of the same colour, but I just don't, I'm so small, I don't have room for that. So I tend to keep a lot of my excess stock up above, and also out the back in the office. If I didn't do that, I just wouldn't have the capacity to keep as much stock as I do, and I like to try and keep a good range. So this is the till area and the counter. I've got files full of single patterns and also some pattern books under there. I'm working on trying to free up some of this cubby space to house more books, because I think as lovely as my shelves are, it's a bit difficult for customers to browse the books. In particular, the files are okay because we can just drag those out. People can flick through the single patterns. But I'd like to get to the point where I am streamlining some of the stock so that some of these cubbies are actually full with books instead. I have a small selection of sewing threads and ribbons above the till. And then I kind of alternate what I keep on display on this side of the counter. At the moment I've just got some Eucalan, some handmade jewellery and some lovely Bahramu tape measures. I also keep a little display of our loyalty cards and also the lovely knit travert pins from Makers Merch that we stock here in the shop. As I say, through the back there is a bit of a mess at the moment. I am hoping to start my annual stock take / spring clean soon. So things out there should get better. Over on the back wall I have this little section here that you can see on the camera is mostly my selection of British yarns, which I'm hoping to expand this year. I also have a little bit of Noro, and down the bottom I have some nice alpaca yarns and a little bit of Louisa Harding left, but these are some of the things that I'll probably start discontinuing. As you can see, I've also already started streamlining some things, and there are a few empty cubby holes ready for when I am ready to change things around a little bit. In the corner I have a little display cabinet. It doesn't really have a huge amount of stuff in it at the moment. A couple of needle sets and some handmade jewellery, and then hanging in this corner I have all of our needles. And then coming around to the other side of the shop, this set of cubbies here is mainly my Stylecraft yarns, which are mostly acrylics. But down the bottom I also have some nice alpaca yarns and just bits and pieces from stockists where I might only have 1 or 2 lines from the range. Coming across, I've got my lovely selection of hand-dyed yarns from by Miranda May, who is one of our local indie dyers. Then I have some project bags that I make, and then down the bottom hanging there a few yarns from some local farms. And then finally onto the last set of cubbies. Up the top there you'll see my 2 cubbies chock full of sock yarn, and then coming down I have some yarns from mainly Sirdar and also a few from Sublime. They're both the same kind of company. They're just the 2 different lines, and a lot of those are baby yarns, but there are a few others mixed in there as well. And then across the floor in front of the window I have my bargain buckets. So I usually have 3 or 4 of those full up with things that I have for sale. I do have a nice big window to be able to display things. It's quite minimal at the moment. So at the moment I have got some lovely local farm yarn. I've got the beautiful Moordale, which is the new yarn from Rowan. And then over in the corner I also have a little bit of Woolly Knit, which is another lovely British yarn. So went for a bit of British theme for my kind of interim window. I'm almost ready to change the window display. My customers have been making dinosaurs, so I'm really excited about the next window display. I also like, because we've got quite a big window, I like to have some things hanging. This time I just went for a few little pom-poms. I'm now stood in the office / kitchen. This area is a disaster zone at the moment. Since November I've been in the shop on my own, and I used to spend quite a lot of time keeping things in order out here while I had another lady facilitating some of the groups. So the days that she was here I would be doing some of the organising, but I don't have that now, so things out here are a mess, which I am pretty ashamed of. So I'm not going to show you too much. But yeah, I tend to keep some of my excess stock, and then I've got a small sort of kitchenette area and a desk which you can't see because it's piled high with stuff over in the other end of this room. So my task over the next month or so is to come in early for a few days and try and get on top of the mess that is the office. And then further down, if you step out of this room, there is a little bathroom area, a corridor leading down to a toilet and a sink. I also have a giant filing cabinet out there, and in that filing cabinet I mainly keep yarn that I've put by for customers. So we're quite old-fashioned in that if you want to make a big project but you can't justify a big outlay of money, or perhaps you just don't have the room to keep tons of stuff at home, then we'll keep it here for you and you can come in and buy a ball or 2 at a time until your project's finished. So I've got a giant filing cabinet out the back full of yarns that people have put by for that purpose. So yeah, I think that's it really. As I said, I've got a small shop. There's not huge amounts to show, but I love coming here, and I'm just proud to be the owner of this lovely shop. It's not perfect. There are many things that I would love to change if I had the funds, but of course, sadly, things always come down to money, don't they? I have to purchase all of this yarn up front, and then I only make money if and when people purchase it. So yeah, it can be difficult to bring in new stock and keep things fresh, but I am trying my best and I'm learning as I go some of the pitfalls I've definitely made mistakes along the way, but and I'm sure I will make many more. But it's such a fun journey to be on, and yeah, some days are really hard, but overall I love it. Love my job. Thanks for joining me for this little tour. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to see more of or hear me talk about in any more detail, then please just pop some comments in the box below. Locked up the shop. It's been a really lovely day today. I got to meet a beautiful new friend, Pamela. Hi Pamela, if you're watching. Pamela and her neighbour visited the shop today, and it was just so lovely to chat to them both and yeah, just meet someone who watches my videos. And Pamela was inspiring me with her talks of lovely long dog walks, and it reminded me how much I love walking and how little opportunity I get to do that these days. So thanks for inspiring me, Pamela. I have decided to come for a walk across Cardiff Bay Barrage. As you can see behind me, the sun is getting really low, so but it's a beautiful, beautiful evening. I am heading across the bay into Cardiff, and yeah, I'm going to meet James for some dinner, so there'll be a nice reward at the end of this walk. Pamela gifted me the most wonderful project bag, which I've got tucked up in my bag, but I can't really show it to you now because that involves hands, and my hands are busy holding the camera at the moment, so I'll be sure to show that to you tomorrow. But yeah, I think that probably wraps it up for my Tuesday. Yeah, it's just been one of those really nice, kind of unexpected but beautiful days. Welcome to my Wednesday. Having camera issues this morning. I've already knocked my phone off of its perch, and the light keeps changing, so it's a little bit dark at the moment. Even though we've got blue skies and sunshine again, I'm not sure where the sun's gone. Perhaps it's dipped behind a house somewhere. Anyway. I have a really busy day ahead today. I have got 2 groups that I host in the shop on a Wednesday. I've got my crocheters this morning and then a mixed group of knitters and crocheters this afternoon. And in between, I think I've got 2 reps visiting me. I'm going to be non-stop. So there won't be much time for recording. However, I did want to just quickly say hello this morning and show you the bag that I was gifted yesterday, as I promised to show you that, and also a little bit of crafting that did get done yesterday. There wasn't much. I didn't really do anything yesterday evening. James and I had a lovely tapas dinner in Cardiff Bay, and we were home quite late, so didn't really get any craft time in. And it was fairly steady in the shop yesterday with customers and also with just bits and pieces that I had to do. So I managed to knit down the rest of the leg on this lovely sock that I'm knitting from the Purple Moon colourway by Miranda May. I have popped in some waste yarn for a heel. I don't think it's entirely necessary in this particular colourway because it is pretty well a true variegated. There's no sort of real pattern or stripe, although these sort of deep purple stripes do seem to be repeating. But I think I would have got away with just putting in a fish lips kiss heel as I went. I'd like to put in a heel afterwards for self-striping and self-patterning yarn, just so as not to interrupt that. I think I probably, as I say, could have got away with it with this particular yarn, but I didn't really want to take a chance that there might be any colour pooling with the sort of change of stitch count, so I decided to go with the afterthought heel. So yeah, I'm hoping to get some work in on that today. Obviously I've just got to knit down the foot now. It's quite a long foot, but the toe's quite shallow, so although it seems like I'm slogging through the foot, when I get to the toe it's finished in no time. So yeah, that's my plans for crafting while I've got the groups. And now really the purpose of recording this morning is to show you this absolutely gorgeous bag that I was gifted. I'm absolutely blown away, and yeah, it was completely unexpected. such a wonderful thing, and I love it. It's going to be treasured and used a lot. So thank you once again, Pamela. I didn't really know what to say to you yesterday, but Pamela's sewing is just stunning. So she's gifted me this giant bag. It's massive. It's brilliant. So on the front here, as you can see, there's lots of lovely patchwork, and Pamela's patchwork skills are stunning. I've done a fair bit of quilting in the past, and yeah, I know how difficult it is to match up all of these points. So there's lots of beautiful fabrics on the front of this bag. I love this one in particular. It says tea time at various intervals, and there's always tea on the go in the shop. But there's lots of lovely prints on the front here. This beautiful orange flower and some butterflies and dragonflies. Yeah, gorgeous. And then on the back, this fabric is just, I love it. So it's this gorgeous bird print. So there's these birds hanging out in these trees or on these branches, and the colours in these are yummy. Blue and orange, my favourite colour combination. And Pamela did mention that she tried to pick out a bag that had as much orange in it as she could. So that's so thoughtful of you, thank you. Inside is some lovely floral fabric too. So there's plenty of room in here for a really big project. So definitely a sweater, or maybe even one of my blankets. Pamela said that she makes the bags like this, so they're big enough to fit in like a A4 magazine, or something similar. If you have one of those sort of project boards that you like to keep your work in, then it all fits in here. So I am definitely going to put a project in here as soon as I finish recording. I think I have time to do that before I head to the shop. Whatever lives in this bag will definitely get worked on. I think this bag is going to be in heavy rotation because it's beautiful and it's, yeah, a nice big size. So yeah, that is everything for this morning. Yeah, just a very big thank you again to Pamela, and I will see if I get time to record anything else today, but we might be on the short side today. But I managed to record quite a lot yesterday. The video's already quite long, so a couple of days of not so much footage won't do any harm. I'll see you soon. It's 5 o'clock and I've not long closed up the shop. I've come down to the pier for some fresh air and in to enjoy the last light of the day. It's been a really fun day in the shop today. Both of the groups were really lively, and we had people both starting and finishing their projects, which is really fun. I get to live vicariously through people when they're doing that. Do you have a favourite part of a project? I love the anticipation of casting on and doing those first few rows, the possibilities and the feel and of the new yarn, and enjoying the colours that you're working with, and then that sense of satisfaction when you cast off. That satisfaction can be short-lived sometimes, can't it, as we realise that sometimes adjustments need to be made and we need to rip out that cast off and re-knit or re-crochet some parts of our project. It's really still down here today and pretty hazy. There's a very ethereal quality to the light, and the atmosphere down here is quite still and calm as well. So I'm going to sit and knit a few rows, and I'll pop in a little bit of footage of some of the beautiful light and scenery that I'm enjoying while I sit and knit for a little while. Hey, welcome to my Thursday. Normal weather has resumed here in South Wales today. You can probably hear it's raining. I'm sat just under the window, or one of the windows in my craft room, which is the attic room of my house. And it is pouring down out there. It was inevitable that the lovely sunshine wouldn't last. I usually record over in the other side of this room, so sorry about the weird angle and the weird light today. I usually sit on the floor across the way. I just can't be bothered to sit on the floor for you today. So I'm sat in the chair on the other side of the room. I've got another busy day in the shop today, and I'm a little bit worried about whether I am going to survive. I am not feeling the best today. I have got a bit of a headache and a bit of a scratchy throat, so I'm hoping I'll find some energy reserves in there to get me through today. Particularly this morning, I've got quite a few beginners now on the Thursday morning session, so I need to try and shake off this fuzzy head and be in a position to help those lovely ladies along with their projects this morning. Before heading off to the shop, I have been trying to get in a little bit of my spinning practice. My spinning has not been going well this week. I don't know what it is. I just can't seem to get things right this week. I'm trying to spin this gorgeous merino fibre on my Ophelia spindle. And I don't know if it's just me being slightly out of sorts or whether it's just this spindle and fibre combination do not want to play nicely. The spindle keeps dropping, so the fibre keeps breaking. I am trying to spin a singles, which is obviously a little bit different than what I usually do. I'm trying not to put too much twist into this one, which I had some issues with the last singles that I spun being quite twisty. But it's not altogether working. I can see as I've wound on the spindle there's a few sort of pigtails crept on to the cop there, and this is very thick and thin, but I'm persisting. I literally only have this little bit of fibre left now, so I think if I stop chatting to you and set my mind to it, I'll get this done before I leave the house this morning, and hopefully a lot of these issues will be forgiven in the soaking process and also the knitting process. I think I mentioned this is going to be just for a beard for the mystery gnome, that pattern from Imagine Landscapes that's starting next week. So I don't think it's going to be essential that it's the perfect yarn, which is probably a good thing. So yeah, I'm going to get to spinning a bit, and then I shall be off to start my day. Probably won't be too much footage today. We'll see how I feel as the day goes on. Hi, it's Friday. It's late Friday morning, and I'm actually in the middle of getting ready to go away with our friends for the weekend. I've got about an hour or so before I go and pick up the hire car, and then we'll be off. But before I go, this is probably going to be the last opportunity I have to record this week, so I thought I would just hop on and share a little piece of my Friday with you. I've got a couple of things to show you, and then I thought I would chat about some of the things that I'll be taking away with me for crafting this weekend. Before I get into that, I have a finished object to show you, and if you've been following along this week, these will be no surprise. I have finished these lovely socks from the Purple Moon colourway by Miranda May, who is a local indie dyer, and these are for a friend of mine. So as you can see, they're all finished. I knit these on 2.25mm needles. They are a 72 stitch sock, and they have turned out beautifully. I did soak these last night, but I forgot to lay them out properly, so this one's got a bit of a kink in it, but I'll re-soak those before my friend gets them next week. Make sure they are looking the very best that they can be. So yeah, I think I've spoken about these several times this week, so I'm not going to dwell, but I just wanted to show you they are now finished. I also yesterday managed to finish my spinning the green merino fibre. I just need to tie the skein and then give it a bath, so I'm going to do that in a minute, and it can just hang to dry while we are away. They don't usually take that long to dry, but yeah, I won't have need of it until next week, when hopefully the first clue for the mystery gnome along will be released. I did manage to get my spinning mojo back in the end. Last night, I was on my own last night. James was out at a work function. I was really tired. I still had that headache hanging around, and I switched everything off, got ready to go to bed, and then I looked at the clock and it was only 9 o'clock, and I thought, I can't go to bed this early, that's crazy. If I go to bed this early, I'll be awake at silly o'clock. So I sat down again and got my spinning out and finished this, and also worked on a little bit of natural yarn that I have from the Spinner's Stash on my Jodie spindle, the bottom whirl spindle that I have. And my spinning went beautifully, so I think I was just experiencing a blip yesterday morning, which is good. So yeah, they're the two things I wanted to show you. Oh, I'm also wearing my Paris to Berlin cowl. It blocked out lovely. The border is sitting fairly flat. It is curling in a little bit, but that's just where it sort of comes around the neck, so I think it's just naturally going to end up curling in anyway, so I'm not going to worry about, I think adding extra width to the border is not going to make a difference to that, so I'm just going to leave as is. But I think it's going to be a really functional wearable piece. It's a great way to use up that one special skein, and the pattern's very adaptable. As I say, I didn't have enough yardage as per the pattern, but I've still got a really huge cowl, and it sits nicely around my neck. It's going to give me plenty of warmth, so I don't think I'm going to miss that extra pattern repeat at all. So yeah, if you're looking for something to do with one special skein of yarn in your stash, I can definitely recommend the Paris to Berlin cowl by Joji Locatelli. It is a paid for pattern. It's available on Ravelry. So crafting plans for the weekend, I'm going to take a little bit of knitting, a little bit of crochet and a little bit of spinning with me. I don't know how much I'll actually get done. I know that we will have at least a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon where myself and the other girls that are going to be on the weekend will be doing a bit of crafting, and I believe that James and his friend have got plans to test out the local tipples, shall we say. So they'll be off to the pub. Yeah. So hopefully everyone will have a fun weekend. So last night I cast on a new sock. I wanted a vanilla sock to work on, so this will be my knitting. I don't know if you remember, if you watched my plans for 2019 video back at the start of the new year, I had mentioned that I was bagging up 12 of the sock yarns that I had in stash, with the goal of pulling one out at random every month to knit a pair of socks so I could work my way through some of my commercial yarn. Well, I have been pulling those yarns out, but sadly I haven't been knitting with any of them. So I have my January and February socks to go, so I thought I'd cast on with my January yarn. So in January I picked out from the stash this ball of West Yorkshire Spinners in the Kingfisher colourway, and also in my sort of stash of plain solid colour yarns I had this West Yorkshire Spinners in the bubblegum colourway, which I had planned to pair with the Fairy Lights, which was last year's Christmas colourway, but I didn't get to cast those on either, but I thought that would make a nice contrast for these Kingfisher socks as well. So last night when my head was buzzing and I didn't really have the capacity to do much else, I cast on and knit the cuff of the first sock. So I'm now ready to join in the main colour and get going with that. So those are going to come with me this weekend, and we'll see how far I get with those. I'm going to keep those in a lovely TARDIS bag that I have, being the Doctor Who nerd that I am. So that is the first project. I may also take the Darumi jumper with me because I'm just knitting on the sleeves on that. So if I need to give my hands a break from the small needles, then that might be a good project to take with me. And because we've got the car, I can really chuck in as many projects as I like in the boot. It's not going to make any difference at all space wise. Spinning, I'm just going to take Rosie, my basic drop spindle, and in this pack of fuzzlings from Fondant Fibre, I still have 3 fuzzlings left, so I'm going to bung those in and see if I get any time to spin. And the reason I'm going to take Rosie is because she's a very hardy little basic spindle, and I figured if anyone else fancies having a go at spinning, if she gets dropped, she's not going to get too damaged, or if she does, I won't be as heartbroken, sorry Rosie, as the, you know, if any of my acrylic spindles get dropped and broken or damaged. So that is my plans for spinning. And then for crochet, I am going to resurrect a long neglected whip. I have a granny stripe blanket on the go, a very scrappy granny stripe. I'm using up, I started this after I finished my Cozy Memories blanket, which was a long time ago now, as a means of using up lots of sock yarn scraps. But this hasn't seen the light of day for ages. But I thought this would be a good one to take away with me. I have got a magic ball in the bag and a couple of other little scraps, so I might add to those because crochet eats yarns pretty quickly, and I've got a box somewhere of minis and leftovers, so I think I'll chuck a few more in a bag in case I get to be super productive. And I'm going to add some rows to this blanket. It's quite a nice small size at the moment. This is about half the width that I'm showing, so the rows are very long. But it's not very deep yet, so it's still perfectly portable, and as I say, it hasn't seen any work on it for a long time, so I think it'll be nice to get going back on this blanket again this weekend. So yeah, they are the plans, and yeah, we'll just see how far we get. So I think I'm going to wrap up the video for this week. Hopefully I can quickly splice these together, get the video uploaded onto my laptop to free up some space on my phone, and I'll be ready to publish maybe on Sunday evening when we get back from our weekend away. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I know these videos tend to be a bit higgledy-piggledy. There's no real sort of format, and I probably talk about the same things quite a few times, and there's probably a lot of nonsense in here as well, not just the crafting. So if you stuck with me, thank you very much. I shall be back to a normal format video next week with any luck. So until then, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy this week, and until next time, great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.